Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I've been asked to share tips and tricks about rotational arthrectomy. This lecture would primarily be helping the fellows who want to start and perfect this technology. It's an essential skill for all interventional cardiologists. Can I have these slides, please? Okay, sir. Yeah, this rotablation or rotational arthrectomy, it's an essential skill for all the interventional cardiologists, and it is gradually gaining popularity in Pakistan. Now, just a word about the coronary calcium and its effects. A vast majority of patients with coronary artery disease have some form of calcium in their arteries, from small specks to full 360-degree rings and very stubborn calcium nodules. It is known to cause stent underexpansion, malapposition, resulting in inadequate luminal areas, and many analyses, few recent ones have shown that PCI of moderate to severe calcification was associated with adverse patient outcomes. Handling calcium could be very difficult, but yes, if you have the right tools, you can break anything. It's not working, I think. Sorry. Sir, the calcium is not breaking somehow. Okay, sorry. Let me try it once again, because if this doesn't run, nothing is going to run. Sir, I'm sorry.
Calcium is too hard.
Yeah, this is my own laptop, but it was working yesterday, sir. Sir, पत्थर बड़ा हो गया लगता है. Okay, sir, sorry. The currently available tools range from simple non-compliant balloons to special cutting balloons. We include angiosculpt, scoring, cutting balloons, and arthrectomy devices, which include the orbital and rotational arthrectomies. Intravascular lithotripsy has shown very promising results, but however, it's still unavailable in Pakistan. I hope this case runs. Yes, sir. Just to show an example, this is one example of elderly gentleman who previously had PCI to LAD, now having severe calcific disease in the distal LMS. Upfront rotablation was performed using a stepped burr approach for both LAD and LCX and showed excellent post-blast results. Rotational arthrectomy consists of a nickel-coated brass burr, the front half of which is covered with cutting diamonds. It spins very fast around its axis, up to 3000 revolutions per second, generates a lot of friction and heat, and thus requires continuous lubrication. It's important to note that the rear half of this burr is not covered with diamonds. This rotational arthrectomy has been in use for the last 20 years, and it works on the principle of differential cutting, meaning that the elastic tissues are pushed away while the hard tissues are cut. If you compare this rotational arthrectomy results with what a POBA does, there are multiple dissections on the left lower image, which shows after POBA there are multiple dissections, but after rotational arthrectomy, there is a smooth, very regular surface. This can result into good apposition of stents and better MSA being achieved. Sir, I'm sorry, it's hanging throughout. Yes, sorry. Recently, guidelines give a two-way recommendation for heavily calcific lesions. However, its use still remains fairly low abroad, even locally also. There is no local data which exactly quantifies this is local data from our own hospital. So when to do rotablation? It can either be done upfront in severely calcific lesions or as a bailout in device uncrossable lesions where balloons, microcatheters, IVUS, OCT couldn't cross. High-risk lesions where one should be very cautious using this rota is lesions with thrombus, lesions with extensive dissection, lesions with an angle, and bypass graft lesions. Currently, it is said not to perform rota in last remaining vessels with compromised LV function. The components of rota are a nickel brass burr, the advancer, the foot pedal, the rotational console, and the gas chamber. The first step of performing rota is the adequate guide selection. The 6 French guide can take a 1.25 and a 1.5 bar. It cannot accommodate a 1.75 bar. Remember, when rotablation is not performed upfront and as a bailout strategy, a 6 French guide can easily do all the jobs. But if a complication occurs during the process, it will be very difficult to handle. Guide catheters that provides coaxial engagement will reduce unfavorable guide wear bias. Guide catheters to accommodate final burr size should be used and avoid abrupt primary and secondary curves. Before starting with the rotablation, check all the connections. Check the advancer, check the air supply, check if the pressure in the gas cylinder is more than 500 psi so that it can deliver at least 90 to 110 psi to the console. Always verify that the drive shaft is securely connected to the advancer. Check the front and back connections of the console and check Dynaglide once at least before using this. Selecting the right wire. Rota can only be performed on the provided stainless steel wire, which comes in 2 versions. One is the Rotaflobby, which is torqueable, while extra support is a stiffer wire. Since these wires may not cross the severe lesions so that one can exchange these wires on microcatheters and over the wire balloons, it is important to keep the distal bend of the wire very, very minimal, as it subsequently and substantially increases the friction force between the burr and the rota wire. You can do a low pressure balloon inflation before ablation. It actually helps localizing the areas of resistance and in long lesions may be helpful in improving the flow. The most important component before rotablation is to be performed are the steps with the acronym DRAW, which means drip, rotate, advancer, and wire. I'll just briefly go through all of these. Drip means because the rotablation produces a lot of heat and generates microparticles as debris. So continuous drip saline should be going through the rota all the time. You have to verify before introducing the rota inside the body that the irrigation from the distal tip of the burr is actually continuous. The drip rate should be increased whenever the system is activated with foot pedal. Irrigation via saline lubricates the working parts of the advancer. If available, a rota guide solution must be used. However, other options include a cocktail of verapamil, nitroglycerin, heparin, and saline, nicorandil, nitroglycerin, heparin, and saline, and now we are using 1 cc propofol in the saline drip, which actually contains albumin and lubricates it well. Before inserting the rotaburr inside the body, check that the console is actually giving the required rotations to the rotaburr. While checking for the rotation of the rotaburr, keep it away from the gauze. Check for the advancer free movement. Also check if the brake defeat button is working and the wire is placed at the back end. One of the most components and the important parts is to select the correct burr size. Initially, there was primary therapy or debulking which focused on large burr size. The burr to artery ratio was 0.8 to 1. However, the Stratus trial showed that there was no benefit of doing that. Now we have shifted from primary debulking to lesion modification. This actually provides better delivery of the devices, better expansion of the stent, and it prevents polymer damage. Now the recommendations from the ESC says a burr to artery ratio of 0.6, AHA 0.4 to 0.6, and from Japan 0.6. IVUS must be used if a burr to artery ratio of 0.6 or more is to be planned. Rota burr is available in different sizes, and a stub burr approach is now the recommendation. You can start with a smaller burr. If the first burr was chosen to be a bigger one, like 1.5, it didn't cross, you have to downsize the burr. If the burr was to begin with, the burr was 1.25, and there was no speed down observed despite forceful burr manipulation, you have to upsize. You also have to upsize if the first burr lesion was undilatable or the IVUS after the first run shows big vessel. Before advancing the burr and positioning the burr inside the vessel, lock the advancer knob, activate Dynaglide, advance burr while holding wire, and once the burr is proximal to the lesion, unlock advancer knob. You have to be very careful while advancing the burr and look at the guide because it might be pulled back it might go too deep and cause a dissection, as there might actually be a wire loop outside the aorta. The ablating technique has to be smooth and short. The feedback should be taken from the visual, auditory, tactile. What is the best rotational speed for the rotabar? The recommended speed is actually 140,000 to 190,000 RPMs. A too high speed may make the handling very difficult. Experienced operators can actually go more than 190,000 if they are unable to cross the lean. The correct motion of the rotabar is a pecking motion, not a forceful jottering. This motion helps avoid crossing the lean and entrapment and trenching. Short runs of 15 seconds with 5 to 10 seconds rest should be given. Intermittent pullback of the rotabar to allow coronary perfusion and contrast injections should be given. Avoid rapid force, rapid dottering. As my teacher Suhail said, don't just break it like the eggshell. Avoid stopping or starting the burr in the lean. Avoid stopping burr distal to the lean. Avoid adjusting RPMs during the ablation. If the burr stalls or the RPMs decline more than 5,000 RPMs, you have to pull the burr, don't just leave it there. Don't advance the burr too much into the wire. Whenever there is rotablation, it's known to cause multiple complications. The most frequent is the slow flow or neuroflow, then the dissection, perforation, stuck burr, advanced stopping, shaft disconnection, wire adjusters. Hypotension, bradycardia, AV block, and side branch occlusion may also occur. I would just like to show one last case, because the most daunting and the most dreadful of these complications is stuck bar. This occurs because the burr size, the burr head size is like a Kokeshi doll. It's larger and the neck is very smaller. So if it does occur, what do? You actually pull the burr. You can give a tug on the wire because the wire can't come out of the burr. You can do a counterclockwise rotation. You can wire through the same guide, pass balloon over the wire and inflate. Maybe pass a microcatheter if the guide is more than 7. You can cut back and add guide liner. You can snare, you can do laser, and the final resort is surgery. This is one case